Okay, so guys, it is 4:30 in the morning. I'm up quite late because I just have been doing a lot of research and putting some things together, and this video is quite alarming. So just a trigger warning in place, but something that I really want to just put out there. So I really just would like everybody to watch the video from the beginning right to the end. Hey guys, it's Murad. Hopefully you guys are all doing well today. Back at again, it is daily and consistent content, guys. Inject it, click that button and subscribe, and let's get straight into this video. So who is Simon Schofield? I think I've seen a lot of people discuss him in the past 2 weeks, and I've also seen people making videos, talking about who he is as a person. But I really want to just outline everything in relation to who this man is, the relation to Philip, the relation to Matthew, and what could be even more sinister that could be perhaps going on. Now, some people may say before I get into this that I am speaking about Philip a lot in the past week and a half, and notice how since I've spoken on him, I haven't said anything derogatory about him. I've not said anything derogatory about that man in any capacity. What I'm doing is raising awareness for the conversation of grooming that takes place from a lot of grown men to young boys. I have been one of those young boys. Believe me, I know, be at the age of 11, 12, 13, and also at the ages of 17, 18, 19, 20, with much older men and fulfilling their very sick, dark, twisted fantasies and etc. and all the stuff that I was saying and doing as the world has saw last year. So believe me, this is why I'm constantly doing videos like this, to really have this conversation, and I'm glad that we're having it to an extent. But I really want to just get into this because it is quite eerie, let's just say. So who is Simon Schofield? Simon Schofield and Philip Schofield are not related. They just have the same surname. They both met on a stage. Philip was 30 and Simon was, I believe in this picture, 12 or 13 from what reports say allegedly. Now, again, you might wonder, what are they doing together? I assume they are working together on stage anyhow, which is why they are in the same circumference. But again, Philip, again, is seen with somebody who is a minor in some kind of way, and that they have continued a relationship. I'm approaching 30 in the next 4 years. If I meet a 12-year-old at that age, 13 or at that age, I'm not going to have a friendship with them as I get older. That just is not going to happen. I have no interest in that. So Philip and Simon obviously are still in touch. They are great friends. They have become close. There has been conversation about, did Philip do anything inappropriate with Simon? We don't know about any of that. So it's false to say that Simon is a victim of Phil, because we don't know that. We don't have any of that information. But they are close friends, and Philip even admitted in past week that he's been heavily leaning on Simon, and that Simon has been there for him, really just strongly supporting him in some kind of way. Maybe they have been intimate, I don't know. It is eerie that their friendship has continued to the part where they are really close, and that he's leaning on Philip. When they first met, when Philip was 13, he was 12. That to me is, again, very weird that he has a relationship that has continued outside of any workforce with somebody who was a minor at the time. It is alarming, in my opinion. I want to get into Two-Face Theatre Academy. This is where Matthew attended. This is where the picture was of Matthew and Philip at Two-Face Theatre Academy. And this was an academy that Simon Schofield had founded with somebody else. And Philip Schofield was a Patreon of this academy. He would donate money to this academy and basically help to fund this academy. This is what Matthew and Philip met. Matthew was 10. Philip, I believe, was in his late 40s in this time. And, when Matthew came out of this academy, he says, I'm very new to TV and I'm always learning. I have learned a lot from the Two-Face Theatre Academy, and they have opened many doors for me. I would like to thank my mentor, Simon Schofield, for all his support and help. Matthew, who lives in Hyde, has been acting since he was 8 years old and has already notched up several small screen appearances, including Hollyoaks, In the Flesh, and the second series of The Mill, which is currently being shown on Channel 4. Well, evidently we're not going to be seeing Matthew anywhere else now, because his acting career, which clearly was doing well even before this morning with being on Hollyoaks, has been completely dismantled and, ruined permanently because of Philip Schofield. I just want to get into this quick picture of Simon and Matthew that we're seeing here. Simon Schofield and Matthew. Matthew in this picture, from what reports are saying, allegedly just turned 16 in this picture. And the way he's looking at Matthew, the way they're very close to each other, is very eerie to me. What is going on here? You know, was this Two-Face Academy a grounding place for Phillip and Simon to, you know, not to lure young children to young boys and, you know, have conversations with them and try to talk to them in some kind of way where they could kind of, you know, train them to be in specific ways, to the point where, you know, Phillip might have done some stuff with Simon and, you know, then, you know, they have this academy and then something like this happens. I just feel like this is all alleged information and it's not fact, but it's definitely something that I feel very suspicious about, especially when pictures of these two come forth together as well. Then if we look at Matthew McGreevy's old tweets at the time, at Two-Face, danced my butt off, just having the best night with Simon Schofield. And also, when you look at his other tweets, he says, hey Phillip, thanks for following me, how are you? And at this time, Matthew was 15. So, hey Phillip, thank you for following me. Thanks for following a 15-year-old. And, you know, when I talk about the Two-Faced Academy, Simon Schofield said in 2011 that Phillip offered to visit the school whilst he was in Manchester for the NTAs. But Phillip is now saying that he got a phone call from a mate asking him to pop in. Because from this screenshot, you offered to go to, you know, the academy that you fund and as a patron. And for academy that you fund with somebody that you know who created, that you've known since a 12-year-old, which is an environment for children, as an academy to help them, and that is the same place where you meet Matthew at the age of 10 initially, then there's dinner dates or restaurant dates later on down the line, then you're able to help him get a job at This Morning, then there's intimacy that takes place. And this was the same Two-Face Academy Theatre what I had reported earlier on in the week, where somebody else had written in forums saying that they had seen Phillip at the age of 10 being uncomfortable, as a child being uncomfortable viewing Phillip having a child on his lap, and that he was being a creep and very weird. Lest we forget, I did that video from somebody else who was also at this Academy Theatre. So if we connect to these dots, guys, something very eerie how was happening at that Academy Theatre, in my opinion. I have a hunch that is what my gut is telling me. And as soon as Phillip Schofield came out in 2020 with whatever agenda that he had at the time, as soon as he came out in 2020, the Two-Face Academy Theatre was dissolved. Why was the Academy Theatre dissolved the same time that Phillip had also come out? They assumed that cracks were going to surface, and therefore they decided to, you know, remove any form of evidence that possibly could be there. What I'm saying in this video is that I have a strong hunch, I'm not saying it's fact, it is alleged information, that I strongly believe that the Two-Face Academy Theatre was a grooming ground for young children, where I believe Phillip and Simon and anybody else could go and talk to, either touch up, as, you know, one person said from what they've seen in the forums, or, you know, begin to train and, you know, use and exercise their power. Phil could be like, well, I've got this power, I'm at this presenter, I'm only going to get bigger, who here do I like that I could begin to have a conversations with? And Matthew, if we look at the pictures as time goes on, you know, it is very eerie. And then when there's a video of Phillip and Matthew speaking at This Morning, Phil says, if I'm still getting away with this, then I will be a happy man. He literally said this on camera. If I'm still getting away with this, I would be a happy man. Now, you may ask, again, why is somebody like me even looking at this 4 or 5 in the morning, doing all this research? Because I am somebody who has been groomed. I've been significantly sexually abused. I've been gang raped as well. I've ended up, you know, in sex work to try and survive homelessness, and ended up meeting men in their 40s and 50s who are into significantly dark, weird kinks that I was forced to play out and entertain for the satisfaction, so that I could obviously obtain some kind of money myself to survive. All of this came out last year, and I was absolutely decimated by the entire public. But it was a shame that, you know, the public did not give any backlash to these grown men, and also the fact that people saw my sexual abuse as an excuse, but they don't understand sexual abuse of trauma and how it changes your perception of sex. It changes your perception of, you just can't say no to these grown people around you, because that is what your body learns to do initially via significant amount of trauma. And therefore, when you have these young boys who may be groomed or touched XYZ, it is harder for them to say no to these men or other men, which allows them to continue to be either groomed or abused in any kind of way. So therefore, I'm very passionate about this conversation, as you guys can evidently tell, and this is why I want to make this video. Again, I'm not saying anything derogatory about Phillip or Simon or calling them XYZ or swearing at them. I'm trying to raise awareness for something like this and connecting the dots, because to me, this is all very eerie. There are dots here that you can connect. It's weird to me, because that whole other girl saying that she saw him with a child on his lap and he was being a creep, he wouldn't let that child go at the Academy Theatre, and that girl was 10 years old and she recalled that. That could also just be a lie, but I very much doubt that that's a lie, considering what we've also heard about this damn theatre. It is very, very weird. And this picture of Simon and Matthew is very creepy in my opinion. It is so creepy. In my opinion, Matthew's looking at him at the age of 16 that he trusts this man. This man is everything. He's helping me so much. I appreciate it in any capacity or whatever, in such an intimate fashion, and they're so close together. And lo and behold, Matthew ends up being intimate with the patron of this Academy Theatre. Maybe there was intimacy with Simon. I don't know, to be honest with you, but it is weird to me. And it looks like this Two-Face Academy Theatre is a grooming ground. That is how I see it. And it looks very uncomfortable, and I wanted to just raise awareness for this whole situation. Maybe Phil and Simon were intimate because he's 30 and 12. Maybe he was. We don't know any of that information. What we do know is that Phil and Simon, when they first met, were 30 and 12, and they still have a relationship today. We know that. That is fact. It is public information, because he publicly said himself, Phil, that he's heavily leaning on Simon for help. They are still friends, with pictures, evidence, and from his own damn mouth. We don't know if they were intimate, but we know that a 30-year-old man met a 12-year-old boy and have continued to be friends. Close friends. We know that both of them fund and created a Patreon that was also dissolved when Phillip came out. We know that there are pictures of them that look intimate and odd. We know that Matthew guy has had an affair with Phillip because they've said that. We know the timeline and where it fits. There is a timeline. They met at this school. Then they're going for these restaurant dates. Then he's begging for these videos not to go up because it looks weird in some kind of capacity. And we know that Matthew and Phillip are not on good terms right now. Because if they were on great terms right now and they actually had love for each other and nothing really happened, don't you think Matthew would have spoken out by now in any capacity to defend Phillip? It's been 2 weeks. He said nothing. And I'm pretty sure whatever stupid injunction there is wouldn't be there if it had to aid and abet and help Phil's career. Phillip's also doing interviews with the Daily Mail and the Sun. You don't give yourself to do an interview with these articles and corporations unless they have a very large file on you that they could use on you, but you would rather give them interviews of you instead. Is that why also the interviews that he did with the BBC also came out quite quickly? For damage control, change the narrative, because it came out 2-3 days, like 4 days afterwards. He came out with his interview and everything, was able to say whatever he wants, spoke about the sympathy of Matthew and that, you know, he's lost everything, etc. But that's because of you, Phil, not because of himself. All he wanted was to go to this cool academy and theatre, you know, get a cool job presenting. That's something that he was passionate about, and it's been completely ruined because you just abuse your sense of power. Of course, you know, it's not just Phil's responsibility, it's also Matthew's parents. And the fact that, you know, all the parents believe that their children are going to these academies, after school places that could be healthy for their children, but you really need to check where your child is going because stuff like this could happen. And now Matthew, I believe, is not working anywhere near in any capacity to acting. It's just, I just was researching it all, looking it all up. And when I connected it to that previous video that I did where I researched a girl who was also at this academy that had a very weird experience viewing Phillip, I then got a little panicky, thinking, anybody else in this theatre school that wants to speak up? That's where I would start this investigation. Why the police are not involved? Why the Met Police are not involved? Not surprised, they don't really do much in this country, to be honest with you. But that is where I would start this investigation. Find out who was at this school and if they are willing to speak and come forward to have conversations if they have seen anything that was odd at the time. Because it's not just we're looking at this, we have somebody also at the school who came forward in those forums to say that she felt very uncomfortable with what Phillip was doing. Because I think that this was a grooming ground. Because if it wasn't, why did the school have to be dissolved? Why did it have to be discontinued? Why did it have to go down that way? Because if Phil was just a patron for the place, he still continued his job after coming out. He still has a lot of money, investments, stocks, has a huge wealth, irrespective of working today or not. He could still fund this academy. He could still fund this academy if he really wanted these children, whoever these people were, coming to this academy to have great careers in acting. If that was really what he wanted to do, and to give them money and to help these children in the school and academy and everything, surely he would continue wanting to fund it. Why did it suddenly disappear when he had to come out, and when this Matthew story was beginning to come out? Why did the academy dissolve at that point of time? Was it because they thought our days are numbered, we can't really go around this academy and do our training of grooming with other individuals because this Matthew story was about to get out, and therefore they were like, let's just try and get rid of this place? Because the timing of that disbanding, as well as him coming out, as well as the Matthew story about to come out, is way too coincidental to it. It's way too coincidental, guys. There are so many points that you can connect in this story, where once you end, this video, it's going to make you think very differently about the situation. And this is why I get disgruntled and irritated with people who want to be very dismissive on the situation, act like he hasn't done anything wrong. You have Jeremy Clarkson, or Piers Morgan, who've ended up coming out with pieces of information to defend Phillip. Suddenly they are the moral compasses of this entire situation. Suddenly they are the moral compasses of mental health. When it comes to Meghan Markle, they have gone into her incessantly to the point where they don't even care that she wants to commit suicide. They don't care of the fact that she's been bullied continuously by so many people within the royal family or in the public. They have no understanding or care. They do not care. Whether you like or dislike Meghan Markle watching this video, you can definitely agree that they absolutely hate her, but are suddenly now so quick to defend this man Phillip, who has known to be grooming people XYZ, and are making a distraction. Oh, why is it affair such an issue? Why is him being gay such an issue? Nobody's questioning any of that. Nobody's angry at any of that. It's a deflection. There is significant amount of grooming here. This relationship with this man Simon, whoever the hell he is very concerning to me. Did Phil groom Simon to the point where they have become great friends? They ended up building this academy in some kind of way to try and groom multiple children, be around them, and then to bring on Matthew for XYZ, who he then got intimate with. Do they wait till they become adults, therefore they can jump through the legal loophole of nothing happening to them and not it becoming something else? Therefore they wait till they're but even if they're still 18, 19, 20, they're still very young sexually in comparison to 40 to 50-year-old men. So it's just alarming to me. Apologies guys, this is a very long video, but I wanted to just do a full breakdown analysis of not only who this man is, but I really want to get into this two-faced academy theatre school, because it looks like these two faces are very dangerous to me, in my opinion, when it comes to this place. I do wonder why Matthew has not spoken out. He hasn't said anything on the situation. I think a lot of people are saying because of a super injunction, but I have yet to see any proof of a super injunction. I feel like the word super injunction has run all around the internet. I don't see any facts for it. So if you have any factual information of it, please comment down below, because I would want to know. He also is very stressed by this and perhaps doesn't want to continue speaking on this. But I do feel like if nothing happened XYZ and he didn't feel the type of way about Phillip, then he would have came to defend him in any kind of way. Or Phillip would have said that Matthew is defending me quietly. But none of that was said. None of it. None of that was said. Whew, okay, I really should go to sleep. The way I am up right now, looking at all of this, the sun is coming up. So I need to go to sleep, guys. Let me know your thoughts are when it comes to this. Subscribe to the channel, guys. Please, I would appreciate it if you guys would subscribe to the channel with all this hard work and constant content that I'm giving to you guys every single day. In and out, constantly working no matter where I am. Please, I'd appreciate it if you subscribe to the channel. Click that button for daily and consistent content. Head over to my Instagram at Murad_Morali. It is in the bio below as well. If you guys want to check that out, I would appreciate it. I will put this video also on my podcast discussing this. So the same video will be on my podcast in the bio below if you would just prefer to listen to it in that way. So I would also should clip this and put this at the beginning of the video as well. subscribe, click that button, comment down below because I'm very keen to see what your thoughts are on this situation. I want to see your proper thoughts, paragraphs, everything on this because I read all your comments. Like the video as well, and I'll catch you guys soon for another video.